introduce the Center for Biological Diversity's Deputy Organizing Director, Valerie Love, who is leading the Call of the Wild campaign to save America's wolves. Thanks, Valerie.
Hey! All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming out today. The Trump administration is waging an all-out attack on wolves. The Department of Interior and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service under Trump have been no friends of the environment or of the environmental laws they are supposed to uphold. David Bernhardt, the newly appointed Secretary of the Department of Interior, is a former lobbyist for the oil industry. Right? And a shill for the pesticide industry. He's now under an ethics investigation for preventing the release of a scientific report which concluded that 3 different types of pesticides are highly dangerous to more than 1,200 endangered and threatened species. And Bernhardt reports to President Donald Trump, who, as we know, never met a pristine landscape he didn't want to drill and plunder, or a threatened species that he wished to protect. Their proposal to strip endangered species protections from wolves is exactly what we would expect from such a corrupt administration. Here's what we know about the proposed delisting itself. It would strip protections from wolves where they currently exist, where they are just getting established, and where there's still suitable habitat, but wolves have yet to return. It ignores the fact that the current wolf population is around 6,000 wolves, which is just 1% of their former numbers, and they occupy only 10% of their historic range. No scientist would agree that this constitutes a safely recovered species. In fact, on May 7th, a comment letter signed by more than 100 scientists was submitted to U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service opposing the delisting on these very grounds. The proposed rule also ignores the fact that while there exists at least 530,000 square miles of land that scientists have identified as currently suitable wolf habitat in the lower 48, wolves only occupy 1/3 of that. The proposal says that having a wolf population in the western Great Lakes states is good enough. It says nothing about the Northeast or the Southern Rockies, and says that where there are some wolves in the West Coast, they're not in large enough numbers to matter for the overall wolf population. So stripping wolves of federal protections would turn them over to state management. And we know from states where they have been fully delisted that states immediately institute aggressive hunting and trapping seasons, and I mean immediately. Stripping wolves of protections in additional states would simply mean more dead wolves. In Wisconsin, where there are about 900 wolves, the state plan would reduce it to around 350. In Minnesota, where there are about 2,600 wolves, the state plan would allow for wiping out 2/3 of that population. Wolves that try to disperse from the western Great Lakes states and the northern Rockies to adjacent states will not have federal protections that they need to prevent them from being shot on sight as vermin or subject to hunting and trapping seasons. So far, 5,000 wolves have been killed in states without federal protections. And this is the model that the Trump administration wants to spread across the country. This is unacceptable. So the bottom line is we need to tell U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services that having wolves in the Great Lakes states is not enough. The Endangered Species Act requires more, and we require more. The American people require more. And that is why we're fighting back. This campaign has drawn unprecedented grassroots involvement and support. Our coalition as a whole has over 1 million comments. Nearly 1 million of those we are delivering today. And again, we now have until July 15th to break all the records and get in well over 1 million. Now we're going for 1.5 million, and I know we can do it. So we've also seen incredible on-the-ground grassroots organizing to save the as part of our Call of the Wild campaign. Nearly 1,000 volunteers all across the country went out into their communities to gather physical comment letters, farmers markets, at events, in the line at the grocery stores, to McDonald's workers. I heard all of these stories to get comments signed opposing this delisting. So our goal originally was to get 15,000 comments. We thought that's a lot of conversations. That's a lot of one-on-one, face-to-face conversations. But we went far beyond that. We more than doubled it. In these boxes right here, we have over 35,000 hand-signed, hand-gathered comments. So again, all right, so that is more than 35,000 one-on-one conversations that happened at the street and events. And this is the way that we are going to build the kind of grassroots, bottom-up, on-the-ground political power that we need to win long-term on this issue. As Lita said, polling has shown that a majority of Americans want wolves protected. So we just need to organize ourselves and build the political power to hold our leaders accountable. We now have a 60-day extension, but the U.S. Fish and Wildlife has dragged their feet on every step of the process. They didn't schedule any public hearings originally. They refused to respond to our request for an extension until the very last day. The fact that they finally bowed to our requests for both of those public hearings and an extension just shows our own power. We have no one to credit but ourselves for this, and this gives us the time to up our organizing even more. So we have slowed them down, but we will not stop until they stop this proposal in its tracks for good. Our love for this magnificent, social, wild creature and the ecosystems that they make better is so much bigger than their hate and their fear. Am I right? All right, so now I want you to join me in bringing the voice of the voiceless right here, right now. So are you ready to howl? Yes! All right, here we go. Howl with me, please.